It is another safety reminder as we head into the 4th of July holiday weekend. I'm here at the live desk right now. Montcalm County deputies are investigating an explosion that seriously injured a Stanton man. They say 42-year-old Blaine Cortez was at a friend's house in Douglas Township earlier this week when a commercial firework exploded in his hand. He was taken to the hospital with a serious injury to his left hand and burns on his body. Any firework that explodes or even leaves the ground is illegal in the state of Michigan, but even something as simple as a sparkler, for instance, can lead to serious injuries if misused. Dr. Willard Stawski, a surgeon with the Spectrum Health Burn Center, joining us right now to talk more about injuries that we see around the 4th of July. So when this time of the year rolls around, what starts going through your mind?
Number one, you have to be aware of your surroundings.
Okay.
Look at the people who are around you and what they're doing and whether they're intoxicated, whether they're making bad decisions, whether there are explosions occurring, things flying through the air. So you basically have to protect yourself and your family and be aware of circumstances in which you could be seriously injured.
What do you normally see around this time of year? Is it something like you can just count on it because you're going to see this kind of injury come into the emergency room?
Yes.
In a word.
And that's where most of them appear, is in the emergency room, because they're not always the terrible life-threatening circumstances, but they're the burns to the fingers, maybe burns to the face from a rocket, a little bottle rocket or something like that. But fortunately in Michigan, we have some pretty good laws against the heavy fireworks, the very significant M80s or cherry bombs that can take off a finger or really damage a hand. So we're fortunate in that regard that we have that.
The fireworks that we do have, what are some of the safety concerns that parents need to be aware of? What can they do to make 4th of July fun and safe if they do buy some of the fireworks that are legal in Michigan?
I think to watch the children. Most of the fireworks injuries are in people under 20, and they're mostly males, and sometimes the early teenage years, 13, 14, 15, they're experimenting, putting maybe some other things like gunpowder or stuff that they find around that will explode, to be creative, and sometimes that creativity is harmful. So I think monitoring your family members, particularly children in that age range, is terribly important.
So it's usually the older kids that we see then?
Well, I would say the teenagers. Yeah. Most of them, I think half of the injuries are under 20.
Okay.
And usually men or boys more than girls.
And the fireworks that we do have, probably leave it up to the parents, I would imagine, to set those off for the younger kids to be able to watch that. As you mentioned, I mean,
sure.
Sparklers too. Even
sparklers, yeah, the sparkler is pretty hot, and that can ignite other things. So once the sparkles are gone, that steel is still enough to burn you. Again, we're not talking about terrible life-threatening or maiming injuries, but things that are they're very uncomfortable and problematic for parents and their kids.
And too, Doctor, it does have a lot to say about as far as watching what other people are doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That was good advice.
And things that tend to explode in numbers. If you have a packet of firecrackers and somebody wants to light the whole packet on, then pretty soon they're flying around. Or these Roman candles that can take off too. So. And even if you're at an event where they have professionals igniting these things, the real big aerial displays, occasionally some of those can land in a crowd too. Pretty unusual, but it still happens. So even the professionals get injured when they're setting these things off.
Yeah, we need to be careful about that. Dr. Willard Stawski, thank you so much for joining
Susan,
us.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate that.
Thank you.